Hi guys, and welcome back to Is It Worth It reviews. Today we are talking about Volumio Rivo. It's a dedicated audio streamer, so it's a digital platform only and it comes from Italy. So let's find out how it performs. Starting with the build and the overall design, I have to say that I really like this one. You can see that the whole outer shell is built out of aluminum. And it looks nice too, in this gray with sort of green tint, slight greenish tint coloring. The front is a little bit different in blue than big square red button. And the only thing that happens when you press it is that you see a blue LED turns on, meaning that the unit is working. So, no other commands, no LCD display, no buttons, no touch-sensitive things anywhere, because this is simply a digital streamer, whereas all the controlling is done through the app. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. For now, let's look at the back of the unit, so you can see multiple ways of connecting Rivo. Starting with digital inputs, you can see that we have the most important one that says NET, it's Ethernet port, to connect Rivo to your home network. From there, it can be connected to any local network storage, your PC, controlling app on your phone too, etc. You can also see two USB inputs that you can use for external storage maybe, then micro SD slot, HDMI that is actually a video output. So if you maybe want to use a screen, a TV or something connected to the Rivo so you can directly see its user interface there, that's for that. Oh, I almost forgot. There is a Bluetooth connectivity and Wi-Fi connectivity that you can use to wirelessly connect to this device. So there's that too. Now for the output part, we have AES EBU digital out, coaxial SPDIF digital out, and USB digital out. So those are three ways that you can connect Rivo to your DAC, to your external DAC. Because Rivo itself doesn't have any analog section, any DAC inside and analog outputs. Because this is a network player, an audio streamer, basically a digital transport only. Now the last part worth mentioning here that you can see in the back is that you feed it with DC, and this is 5 volts 3 amperes. That's what you need. And in the box you get a small switching power supply. It works quite okay. The sound quality is already really good with it, but if you decide to upgrade your power supply, like I did with Alo Shanti for example, or you may use even a fancier power supply, the sound fidelity will improve. But more on that in the sound impression section. But before that, I want to talk about software first. So Volumio, as you maybe know, is a company that started by producing operating system dedicated for audio streaming, and it was mostly used on Raspberry Pi based streamers. And it evolved to have more and more functions over time, and eventually some of those functions were locked in the premium version that you have to pay, but the basic functionality that I always used personally was free. And you could just install Volumio on your Raspberry Pi and use it. But when you buy Volumio Rivo, it comes loaded with Volumio that has all of the premium features unlocked. So I won't go into details because Volumio is a really feature-rich software, and if I wanted to cover it, I would need a separate review for it. But I am happy to say that it really evolved over time, and it works better and more stable, and it provides better sound fidelity than it did several years ago when I first tried it on some Raspberry Pis. And as usual, you can see user interface by using this HDMI video output, which I suppose rarely anybody will use. You can access it through your home network by just typing the address in your web browser on your PC or on your phone, but there is also a dedicated Volumio app that I personally installed on my Android phone and used. The interface is nice, it's logical, it has native support for several streaming services like Qobuz, Tidal, some internet radios, it supports local storage too, so it's really versatile. But Rivo also supports Tidal Connect and UPnP connection protocol, and it's a Roon-ready streamer too. And now sun started to shine really hard, so just some angry viewers can be like, sort out your lightning, man, you're not a pro, you're a YouTube hobo. Which I am, so sorry for the light fluctuations. But back to the software, what I found out is that with its native Volumio player, it sounds really good, really resolving, high in details. And when I used a UPnP protocol with an app on my phone called Bubble UPnP, I found out that the sound became a little bit warmer, maybe just a touch less detailed than using Volumio directly, but also a little bit warmer in a pleasant way. So UPnP also sounded really good. And finally, I tried it with Roon, and to my ears, Roon actually sounded the best. It has great detail retrieval, it had very good warmth that doesn't veil any details, and I felt that the soundstage overall is a little bit bigger and just ever so slightly more three-dimensional with Roon than it was using other ways, other means of connecting this one. And there's a link down below this video that if you click on it, you can try Roon 14 days for free, and if you decide to keep using it, a small percentage will go to me and my channel. But the important thing to notice here, these small differences aside, by using different protocols and different softwares to connect to it, it sounds really good with all of them. There is no bad choice, really. And with that, we are going to talk about how does Volumio Rivo sound. I started using Volumio Rivo with its own factory-supplied power supply, and it sounded really, really nice. And I started listening to several songs, everything was tonally balanced. So it doesn't have any obvious tonality skew. It's not bright and peaking, it's not warm and closed in or anything like that. It just sounds really neutral and natural tonally. But what I did notice is that it sounds tonally rich, and it retrieves loads of details while at the same time sounding calm and just casual and laid back. And every time when there is a combination of high resolution and highly informative sound that is at the same time not bright, not peaky, and not too forward sounding, but it's actually calm and relaxed and full-bodied, it has natural warmth and good tone timbre, I know that it is a really good device. And on top of that, the soundstage is really wide, really deep, big, and it has dark background. And I was like, wow, this is one seriously good sounding streamer. So I immediately compared it to Eversolo DMP-A6 used as a digital transport only. And what I noticed is that even with its own switching mode power supply, Rivo matched and actually slightly topped the sound of Eversolo DMP-A6. And the thing is that at all times I was using Eversolo with its native Eversolo app because it sounds considerably better than using other types of connection like Tidal Connect or UPnP, for example. Volumio Rivo here sounded slightly better layered and just a little bit tonally fuller, and with a bit deeper soundstage. It's really small differences, but it did those things better, no matter what kind of connection and software I was using. But if I use the best one with Rivo, which was Rune, and then I use the best one with Eversolo that I used at all times, its own Eversolo app, the gap even slightly increases, because Volumio Rivo now sounded clearly more full-bodied, and just it had more three-dimensional, palpable tones. And even though Eversolo on its own never sounds thin or bright if you do not have a better reference, moving from Rivo to Eversolo shows that it's a little bit thinner sounding and it's a little bit flatter sounding. But next, I used my linear power supply, Allo Shanti, and powered Rivo with it instead of its own switching mode power supply. And that resulted in the sound being even more three-dimensional. The separation and layering, everything just... It's not like exploded in terms of how big difference was, but it felt like it exploded a little bit. Not explosion, okay, the better term is expansion. The soundstage expanded a little bit in all directions, and everything sounded a little bit more three-dimensional and bigger and more palpable in space. And at that moment, I was like, yeah, in this case, when it's powered by a good linear power supply, yeah, it clearly beats Eversolo. But in that case, it is more expensive, it doesn't offer you a DAC, it doesn't have a screen. It's much more one-thing device. It's a digital transport, it's a network player, it's an audio streamer. You can call it whichever you like, but it has digital outputs only and you need external DAC. But with that, with what it's made to do, it does that slightly better when it's powered with a switching mode power supply, and with a good linear power supply, the gap increases and it's really noticeably better, richer, more three-dimensional sounding than Eversolo DMP-A6. And this will be today the only comparison that I'm going to make, because if you watched my Eversolo review, I compared it with Pi2 Design Mercury Streamer. Eversolo was a winner. I compared it to hifi Zen Stream. Eversolo is a better digital streamer. In a separate video about Inuos Pulse Mini, I compared Eversolo with it again, and once again it was a better digital streamer. So you get the gist here. Up until now, in this price category, because let's face it, I haven't tested pricier streamers, so I cannot talk about them, but Eversolo was the best digital streamer that I've personally tested, so I've been using it myself. Up until now, because Volumio Rivo is a better one. If network player with digital outs is the only thing that you need, Eversolo is still great all-in-one digital plus analog section device. It's just crazy value. But comparisons with other devices aside, if you ask me which digital output sounds the best, because I know some of you will ask. First of all, that's really difficult to assess, because depending on your DAC, the digital inputs on your DAC are not equal. Some manufacturers do great USB inputs, bad SPDIF inputs. With some manufacturers, it's the other way around. Great SPDIF or AES inputs, really not impressive USB input. So because of that, I tried it with several different DACs to try and make some averages. And what I've discovered is that both SPDIF output and AES IiBu output, they do sound really good. But USB output actually sounds better this time. I noticed it's simply cleaner and crisper sounding compared to SPDIF and AES IiBu that are also on their own really resolving and revealing. And I'm actually personally using SPDIF output of this one to feed my do-it-yourself tube DAC that I made only with a SPDIF input. and I don't mind it. But with most other DACs that have USB input, that USB connection was a cleaner, more precise, and just crisper sounding output that I would suggest using if your DAC has a decent USB input. Now to the last part, pricing and conclusion. Rivo here costs $989. That's in euros for us in Europe, but I think that the price is the same in dollars. If you're in the US, just take a look at their website, and I think that just according by your IP, they'll adjust the pricing for dollars. But a very important fact is that that price includes free worldwide shipping and all taxes, which I don't know how it is in your country, but in my country, taxes can pile up to 31% of the value of a product. And if shipping is not free, for example, for me to just import anything costing $900 from US from a company like Shit, it will actually cost me around $1,400 after taxes and expensive shipping and everything. Around 50% pricier than it is for you in the US. And that's partly a reason that I do not review many US products. It's not because I don't like them, it's because it's really expensive to purchase anything from the US if it's not sold here locally, and if it doesn't offer these kind of good terms that Volumio offers. So it's shipped from Italy worldwide, and the price that you see on the website is the final price for you. No shipping costs, no taxes. Which makes it, for everybody else in the world that are not located in the US, it makes it, for example, more affordable than Pi 2 design Mercury. And it's also noticeably better sounding, and it has a higher quality build, and looks are subjective, but to me it looks prettier too. So yes, a conclusion. It is an absolutely great sounding digital streamer, like network player, audio streamer. It can be a bridge too, if you use it with Roon. And I'm just throwing all of these around to confuse you. But the real conclusion is that this sounds absolutely fantastic, and the price, what can I say, it's not cheap, it really isn't. But its performance is really, really high. This is a serious digital transport. Really, really serious. Damn, it's better than Eversolo, and that's not easy to do. And when you count in that price includes free shipping worldwide, and it includes taxes, I have to say that if I had some sort of awards, like Product of the Month, or of the Year, or Golden Medal, or something, I would give it to Rivo. I, for some reason, didn't expect that a piece of hardware coming from the software company that started as a software company would be this good. When Volumio sent it to me, I had it for a few weeks without even getting it out of the box, because for some reason, I don't know, I'm crazy, I firmly believed it will not be this good, and it will not be better than Eversolo, but it is. It's really good. And from the first moment I tried it, I kept using it in my main system. It's a great device, and it has my strongest recommendation. And with that, it's time to end today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye.